Hey, good morning. Just want to go live for a little bit and share some thoughts with you guys this morning while I'm just out here going on a walk, and hopefully this will work. It's a little bit cold, a little bit windy here in Canada, but we don't have snow on the ground yet, so I'm super grateful. You know, the Lord has just been talking to me this morning just really about deeper levels of surrender that are required in this season, and it's this new level of surrender, and that's going to enable us to hear his voice as we're moving forward into these new uncharted territories and these uncharted places that we've never been before. And so last week I released a word, and I was just talking about how God has asked a lot of us to pivot and to turn around. And so a lot of us find ourselves, and it kind of causes a little bit, almost like a little bit of a sense of a disorientation, because we were moving in one direction and all of a sudden we find ourselves like shifted around, and in some ways it feels like a few steps backwards. But however you look at it, the landscape has changed. And so I heard the Lord say this morning, he's like, there's two options. There's two options for you in this new in this new territory, in this new place, even though, in the natural, your surroundings might seem very familiar, but in the spiritual, everything has changed. And, things are not the way that they used to be. And they're not going to go back to the way that they used to be. And so there's new ways of moving forward. There's new strategies. There's new plans, and so this question, are you going to shrink back in fear because of the unfamiliar, or are you going to choose to step forward and to flourish in this season and say, you know what, even though I don't understand, even though I don't know exactly the way, even though I don't have the full blueprint for what this is supposed to look like, we can still move forward, I find myself so often, I get so stuck up in the how, that I want the plan. I'm a visionary. So I want the plan and the strategies because I'm a visionary and I build. And so I'm I want to know where is this train going and how am I going to get it there? And, all of these things. And so it's just these questions that a lot of us have had where it's how, God, how is this going to work? How am I going to move forward? How am I supposed to pivot? But I felt the Lord really just saying, you know what, Jenny, in this season, you need to forget about the how for a little while, and you need to remember the who. And so this is what he was saying, it's about the who. And I feel like there's this place of surrender that he's taking us, even in this place of such unfamiliarity and such not understanding the how or the way, and this is the new season, the new way, the new wineskin. And so all of us are okay, how do we navigate this new territory where we've never been before, and so in this letting go of the how do we do this? How do we move forward? How do we strategize? How do we bring kingdom in this new situation and in this new landscape? God is saying, shift your focus and focus on me. Who am I? He is the beginning and the end, the Alpha, the Omega, this God who doesn't change, this God, who is our shield and our exceeding great reward, even in this season, as he was for Abraham. And so this is the God. He is the one who writes our destiny on our hearts. He is the one who, puts the incorruptible seed of his word inside of us. And he is the one, even though we might plant and water, he is the one who causes the growth and causes the increase. And so there is this invitation to increase and to really flourish in this season, and so for some, it seems guys, things are not as they seem. It may seem like a wilderness. It may seem like a desert season that you stepped into, but guys, it is not as you would suppose. And it's time. There is an increase and there is an abundance and there is a harvest to be reaped. But it's, there's something of we have to discern the spiritual seasons. And so are we going to say, okay, it looks like winter in the natural, so it must be winter in the spiritual. And so we're going to shrink back and hibernate and, hide ourselves away and self-preserve, for a season. But there is this place. And, so I hear I really resonate with words released. They talk about rest. There's such a needfulness of rest in this season, but it's not a rest as in sitting back and doing nothing rest. It's actually a rest that is about posture. It's about the way that you position your heart before the Lord. It's about how you're sitting in that place of like knowing that you are his beloved son, that you are his beloved daughter, that that he is faithful, even though, people might change, situations might change, ministries might change, you might change jobs, careers. I just see these, like, there's been these revolving doors of relationships that a lot of us have found ourselves in so I'm going to try this with my hat because it's a little bit cold, and so even though there's things around us that are changing, and they seem to be changing at a pretty rapid pace, God is saying, in the midst of the shift and the change and the transition, are you able to find your anchor and to find the one that is stable and that changes not, and that's him. And so this is the, take your eyes off the frustration of not understanding the exact strategy, the exact how, and get yourself so settled in who. Who is he? Who is he who is faithful? Who has he been in seasons past, and who is he now today? And then who are you? Who are you in Christ? And who are you as his child, as his son and daughter? And what can you expect, for him to show up, or how can you expect him to show up for you in this season? Because, there's a really, there's a needfulness to, fix our gaze forward. And, so not looking at the negativity of the past and the things in the past that didn't work, but to only look back so that we can look at those memorial stones. We can look back and we can see, okay, these are the areas and these are the ways, that God really showed up for me when, and we all have those impossible situations where we found ourselves in, maybe a place of crisis or a place of impossibility where God just broke in with his provision and he just showed up, and so there's this needfulness to look back, to remember and to know and to draw on his faithfulness and his goodness in those past seasons, because it's the who, that's what's going to fuel you for moving forward. But I also, he was talking to me about just surrender and this new need and this new level for surrender in this season. And it's because the landscape has changed, and he's actually, he's asked a lot of us to surrender our plans, to surrender our dreams, to surrender, the vehicles in which we were traveling, to just surrender what we thought things were supposed to look like, and, it's like we think that we're surrendered and we think that we're submitted to a certain level until, we find ourselves in these moments where he just says all over again, it's time to surrender. It's time to let go. And so I saw that, and I liken it to this, the laying down of our Isaacs on the altar. And it's like, I just saw people just coming to Jesus in this needfulness, to take these things, and a lot of them, they're good things. They're good things. Some of them, they're things that God has given us. They're things that we have birthed. They're things that we have longed for. They're things that we thought were going to be the fulfillment of the promise. And I just see God inviting us into this deeper place of surrender in this season and just saying, will you lay down that on the altar, that which you thought was going to be the fulfillment of the things that I've promised to you? And so it's I saw people coming, holding their Isaacs out and laying them on the altar. And I just felt the Lord saying, there's so many people who are holding things in their hands. And it's because, it's we all can have idols in our heart to a certain degree or a certain level. And so God is this is the part of the surrender where God is wanting to really check motives and just make sure that the things, that we're holding on to and the things in our heart, that we haven't allowed even the good things that God has given us to become idols, where we're pursuing anything, anything that we do, any project, any person, any relationship, any ministry. He doesn't want us to be pursuing anything more than we're pursuing him in this season. And so that was kind of the test. That was the test with Abraham, where Abraham had to bring his Isaac and he had to lay him down at the altar. And it was just but why? God, why are you taking this away from me? Why, would you ask me to let go of the very thing that, I have waited all these years for, and so, but there was a heart test in that for him. God did not take Isaac away from him. He didn't take him away from him permanently, but it was just for a time. It was just for a moment. And it was a moment where God, in that moment, was able to test Abraham's heart and to see if Abraham was he 100% sold out? Was he fully going after the things that God, was it more about the gift or the giver? And so, hello, Kayla, good to see you. When I saw this, but I saw people carrying that thing, which was so precious. And so for so many, and I've said this so many times, recently, I feel like I have to lay my Isaac on the altar. And this isn't just a me thing. This is this is God is purifying his bride. He's testing our hearts. This is what is that thing that we're holding so tightly onto? And I just saw God saying, will you give it to me? Will you give it to me? Will you trust me with your Isaac? And will you let go? And I saw that, for some people, it truly is Isaac, and it truly is the thing that God is going to use to bring the fulfillment of the promise and for you to step into, what you've been believing for. But then I saw others, and, where it's actually, we thought it was our Isaac that we were laying on the altar, but it was actually Ishmael. And so I saw this thing, there is a purifying, and there is kind of this, it's this question from God that he's asking. And it's do you trust us? Do you trust me? Do you trust me? Do you trust that I know? Do you trust me to let go of the thing that you are clinging to? Do you trust me to put it in my hands and allow me to decide whether this is something that I want to put back in your hands, or is this something that actually, even though you thought it was your Isaac, even though you thought this was the way, you thought this was the promise, you thought that this was the thing, but actually it was your Ishmael, and this is something where you were more in striving and you were trying to do something to fulfill the promises of God rather than waiting to see him bring it about in his own plan, in his own timing. So, surrender, surrender. God is calling us to this deep, deep place of surrender. And it's in the place of surrender, in that place of letting go of, how is this going to happen? How is this going to work out? What are the details? And just letting go of our need to know that he is going to be able to put back into our hands the things that he needs to, that he wants us to have. And I apologize, I keep getting a slow connection message. I'm kind of halfway up a hill here, and I didn't want to go all the way to the top because it's super windy up there. So I figured halfway up I should get a good enough signal. And so, I made a comment about idols, idols in our heart, and how God he's been putting his finger on this. And I find whenever I'm teaching people about the prophetic, God, as always, there's that verse, I think it's in Ezekiel 14, where it talks about how, it says that God would answer the people through the prophets according to the multitude of the idols in their heart. And so it's this you don't know how deceived you are until we all need to be able to accept and have the humility and the teachability, and that, that place where we can, come before God and say okay, I think, I think that I know these things, but there's a really good chance that I could be off, and to, allow God to shift our perspective. And so, and some of that, that's what this moment is about. That's what this submission, this letting go, laying down on the altar, because some of us, the things that we feel okay, I'm going to lay this down, God, it's not even about God taking it away from you, but it's actually about you loosening your grip, loosening your grip on the thing that you're holding so tightly onto, so that in the loosening of our grip, it's allowing God, the space to be able to speak in it, to be able to say okay, yay or nay, yes or no, move this way, move that way, and there's a lot of discomfort in that. There's a lot of discomfort, and it's, there's so much shift and change. And I know, anybody have I'm a Honda fan. I drive a Honda Civic. I love my car. It's a great, great car. And before that, I drove a Honda for 12 years. But when you have your car, you have your vehicle, and it's it's just made for you. You've been in it for years, and it's just so comfortable. and you don't want to drive anyone else's car, and it's just, I mean, maybe some of you guys like are more adventurous and like to shift things up, but there's just something I saw. It was that thing of like, will you let go of what is comfortable and what is familiar and what feels, because for some of us it's just that it's the only thing that we've known. And so we don't know like what else is available. And so there's these things that God is so ready to put into our hands. And so, but it's surrender. Will you be a living sacrifice? Will you tie yourself again with cords to the horns of the altar? Will you come back? And will you again say, God, here am I. Do what you need to do. God, if you need to burn me, if you need to bless me, if you need to refine me, if you need to press me, if you need to dismantle, if you need to build, like whatever you need to do, is just being in that place. Like, guys, because without surrender, there's some that, it's like I saw like holding on so much, like holding on so tightly to this. And I see like this baby that you think is your Isaac. And it's like you're holding on. But I saw, it's like, no, it's not Isaac, it's Ishmael. And this isn't what God is giving you. And I saw this need to do a little bit, for God to do some dismantling and to bring some things back to the foundation so that he can start right, so that he can first lay your foundations right, so that he can build you. Because so many are out there and we're stepping and we're trying to build, we're trying to build. But God wants to build us. He wants to do the work, and he wants to build our kingdom. He doesn't, it's like we need to step back from the place where a lot of us feel like we're saying like, oh God, like bless me, bless what I'm doing. Like, look, I'm doing this in your name. And, but God is, I just hear him saying like, but I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't ask you to do that. And so this, like, loosening our grips, when I shared the picture on my last week, I think it was Thursday, whenever I think I was out in the forest too, whatever day that was, and I was just talking about like God had given me this picture about like, playing that game, King of the Castle, King of the Hill, and so it's like the posture of the last season was the race up to the top of the hill and developing those muscles and that tenacity and that fierceness and that fight and the race to the top, and like, beating out the competitors. And there was something that God was working out in that season, but there is a shift in the landscape. And so there's been a shift in the landscape and a shift in the assignment. And so if we don't change our positions, it's no longer that we're no longer in season and doing the assignment, but I actually saw the Father standing at the top of the hill and just saying like, okay, like, are you going to resist me? Are you going to resist me? Are you going to let go? Are you going to, you've fought everybody else to have your own way, but are you going to fight me now so that you can have your way? And so I just saw this, like, this laying down, and it's like, for some, the precious things that we're laying down, like, they're precious jewels, gold, silver, incredible things. God is so pleased. He's so proud of you. And then for others, we think that they're precious, but it's really like the wood, hay, and stubble. And so it's like the Lord is saying, will you give me what is in your hand so that I can give you something better, or that I can give you back what you have, but with my blessing, because you have surrendered it to me. And I just see this thing of like reconsecration and rededication. So guys, do you want to flourish in this season? Do you want to flourish? So it's time to flourish, and it's not time to shrink back. And so tie yourself to the altar as that living sacrifice and allow God to do the things that he is wanting to do in your life in this season. Yeah. Hello, Clay Whitehead. Good to see you. Nadine Klopper from South Africa. Guys, thanks for so much for tuning in. Connie Smith Osman, hello. From Ontario. Barbara Jackson from Alberta, Canada. Dina from Florida. Kayla Lopez from Muskoka. And now we have Ella Ware from Alabama. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Clay, I'm going to prophesy over you. So I'm going to just pivot here a little bit. I think my signal's still holding out, and my ears aren't too cold yet. Yeah, Clay. Sorry, when it's windy, I get like super distracted with my messy hair. All right, Clay. Yeah, Clay, I know you don't have that problem with windblown hair. Oh, yeah, Clay. Man, Clay, I feel like you're a few steps ahead. I feel like you're ahead of the curve on this, and you've been hearing this like surrender message and this message of like the letting go for, I feel like for the last couple months, this has been something that God's already been like, positioning you for. And I just see you like, I just see you really in a place where you've just been like taking account, and there's been like just such a seriousness and an intentionality with which you've been approaching things and approaching this season of pivot in the transition. And it's like, I just see you like, it's like these like I've seen like assignments and projects, contracts. Like I'm just seeing like you sitting like at a desk with all these like papers and these books before you, and it's like I see, it's like you're like, okay, God, what are the things that are going to carry over into the new season? And I just saw like, I saw you looking at the books, and I just saw you taking everything into account, and being in this place where the Father is leaning over your shoulder and is whispering in your ear. And it's like I just saw you so close to him, and him showing you like, okay, these things, there are certain things that you thought were going to carry on to the next seasons, and then certain things that you thought you had already closed up and were finished. But I actually see him like in some areas, there's some areas where he's really affirming, yes, okay, this is finished, we're done. And there's even some things that I feel like the Lord is like, hey, you know what? I know that you are a finisher and you felt like this assignment wasn't completely wrapped up the way that you wanted it. But I just see him saying like, it's done. And I just see this thing of permission, like, hey, you're good to walk away from this, because what I had wanted you to do in it is completed. Or I feel like things have shifted in some ways. So there were certain things that you had expected you were going to be able to do, but the landscape has changed. And so God is saying like, I'm releasing you from that. And then I just see a real like redirection, just such a redirection of your attention in this season. And so he's showing you, but he's like, okay, like, there's an excitement, and I just really see you going through, going through the emotions, but also, I don't know, I see this like protection around your heart, where it's like some things that should be super painful to walk away from and super like hard, and that, I just feel like it's like God has like removed, just the hooks and the things that like would have kept you in a place of maybe feeling guilty or feeling like, I think part of it's like the loyalty too, like the loyalty of not wanting to step away, and when things are not brought to the place of completion, or maybe, or even just the sense of like unresolved. But I just see God like giving you so much grace, and he's giving you so much grace, and he's redirecting your attention, because there are things that you're going to put your hand to in this season. And it's like, I just see him saying like, there are things, there's things that you were tied to in the last season, and they're no longer worthy of your effort and attention. And so I don't know, I see this thing where you being transitioned into some like circles and places and partnerships where you're just, where you're not just tolerated, but you're actually celebrated. And so it's like, I can just see this celebration where some new partnerships are lining up and people are coming in, and there's an excitement around it. So I just, I know there's like a weight and there's a heaviness right now at this time, but the emotions, go through the motions, and then the emotions are going to come. But I just see like the Lord really is loving that you're not moved by the emotions, and you're no longer being moved by a false sense of loyalty, but there's just this freedom. There's this freedom, and it's upgrade for you, Clay. It's upgrade. And I just feel to break off any sense of pressure where there's been like, I don't know if anyone's put it on you, like, oh, you haven't learned your lesson and you're going to have to go around the mountain again because you didn't complete this. I just break that off. And I just feel like the Lord says, what he was working out in you is very different than what other people thought you needed to have worked out in you. And so he's just like, I just see his stamp of approval on you. and it's good. So, and thanks for the confirming messages. Yeah. So I just release a lightness over you, Clay. Yeah, you're saying it's super heavy right now. I just release a lightness over you and just a joy of the Lord. God is restoring even now. He's restoring the joy of salvation. Joy of salvation. And the Lord is saying, I celebrate you, Clay. I celebrate you. And I am bringing those into your ecosystem, those who are going to celebrate you. You know, it's such, you've so just felt like you've been tolerated, but celebration and joy. So yeah, I bless you and I honor you. I honor you. Yeah, I don't know you in the natural, Clay, but I know you in the spirit, and I think you're pretty awesome. God's doing some pretty special things with you, your wife, your family. Yeah, so good. Hello, Darcy Senior, Cassidy Micula. Got some Americans on here. Claire Patricia, Charity. All right. I'm just doing a little scroll through if you're still here. Claire Patricia, I'm going to prophesy over you. I like prophesying over you. Claire, I feel like I always want to prophesy over you. I just see you and I'm like Claire. Because Claire, you have been, you know, for so long, you have been that precious jewel in hiddenness. You have been forged in the fire, and you are a carrier of fire. You are just carrying it. And I just see such a fresh baptism of fire on you in this season, Claire. And it is like, you know, the temperature has been so turned up for you. And I just see, I see like, there's almost like a sifting that's kind of going on around you. And it's because like, you've got so hot and the temperature's so hot around you that like, you're offensive to those who want to stay in lukewarmness. And so it's like for those who like the lukewarm and, they just can't handle you. And so I really just see God shifting. He's just shifting. And so it's like, but I see, you know, two things. Like, so, you know, like I say, like, oh, I see you and I'm just drawn to you. I'm like, I just want to prophesy over you. Like, I see that, like, I see like the favor of God, like that spirit is like sitting on you. And so for that, those who have true eyes to see in the spirit, they can see it and they're going to be so attracted and drawn to you. And this is really just the time where God is, he's taken off. Like, I just see he's giving you like a new coat. Like it's almost like you had this like cloak of invisibility, this cloak of like hiddenness. And I just see that he's taken it off and he's put on this new mantle and this new cloak, and it's very transparent and it makes you very visible. And I just feel like, where like in the last season, it's like you were there were places where you felt invisible, but in this season, it's almost like you couldn't hide if your life depended on it. And so I just see this like real, like bringing out and pushing forward and just, you know, this real, strength of identity and confidence in who you are. I just, that verse in Jeremiah where God is training him and he says like, Jeremiah, like, do not be afraid of their faces, but speak what I, you know, give you to speak. And so I just see that like God almost like giving you this ability to like kind of veil your eyes so that like you won't be deterred by like people's faces or like the fear of man and things like that, where people might not like what you're releasing or have to say. And because it's like, you know, the true and pure and powerful word of God, and, you know, purity is actually offensive to those who would like to live in compromise. And so I just, you know, Claire, I just see like you're just walking in so much purity and so much purity and holiness, and you just carry the fear of the Lord that it's, it's, it's black or white, it's hot or cold. And so those who don't like the hot are not going to enjoy being around you too much, because, you know, you carry that fire, like that all-consuming fire of God. But I see the people coming in, and I just see, you know, it's like I kind of see like, I don't want that to sound too negative. Like I said, people who won't want to be around you. I kind of felt like it's not the loss. Like I see I actually see the lost in those really being attracted to you because of the purity and the authenticity. So it's not about a darkness and light, but it's actually about those ones who would like to have a form of righteousness and appear a certain way, but want to hang on to their compromise. Those are the ones who are not going to be very comfortable in your presence. And so, yeah. So I bless you, Claire. Like, you just keep being you. You just keep being called you. I see that I'm called to bring the lost home. And yes, so it is the lost, and they will be attracted by the fire because it is real and it is authentic, but and they're hungry. Like, they're hungry for the real. They don't want that which is fake. So bless you. You step in it over there in England. That's so good. UK is getting revival. All right, Charity, I'm gonna prophesy over you. Charity, you'll have to tell me one day how to say your last name. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Is it go or no? Charity, yeah. Man. Charity, I just see this like, it's no, okay, just no, okay. Charity, I just see this, such a pure childlike innocence that you carry, and it's just like, the Bible talks about, we must, to enter into the kingdom, we must come like with childlike faith if we want to enter in. And I just see that, it's like, I see that God has, I feel like in this last 3 to 4 years, you've been going through such a deep process of identity formation, and I feel like God has like really restored that childlike innocence in you. And I just see such a purity of heart and this ability where you're just like going after the kingdom, and just it's just like, I see you stepping into places of impossibility, because it's that childlike faith where you take the Bible and you take the words of Jesus where it says like, even greater works than these he will do, and I just see you carrying this, and I sorry if I covered the microphone there. I see you stepping in and carrying it in such a way that it's very inspiring. And I see you even leading your children into it as well. And it's like, I can see you, and I can see even your children like laying hands on people and praying for people. I see like this, this childlike faith that you carry just being like trickling down and being duplicated in your children. And it's really beautiful. And I see them stepping into, I see them almost like stepping into levels of like spirituality and like prophetic flow that you just didn't even imagine were possible when you were their age. And so I see God really, helping you to raise them up, even with them engaging in things that you just didn't even have a grid for. And so it's almost like, I don't know, I just like see you all being like kids together and growing together, and you just like leading them. But it's like, I see it's a humility. That's how I like to describe it. It's like this humility where, it's, the Bible talks about even like a little child will lead 1,000. And so I actually see, one of your children really emerging as a leader and having this like leadership calling on them. And I see you actually being able to so get behind them and having this humility, even though you are the mother, but you are able to like allow a little one to lead you because you trust the purity of the flow of the Spirit, because even though they're your kids, like you see Jesus in them, and that childlike faith that you have like so hungered for, and which, I felt like it was missing for a long time, but God has like restored it to you. And with it has come the ability to dream again and to believe for those impossible things. And so I just bless you. I bless you and your family and your children. And I just see God putting, words in your children's mouths, and them speaking even prophetic utterances and things that are going to turn the hearts of people back to God, because out of the mouth of babes and nursing infants, even God will speak, and it will be powerful, and it will be as a sign and a wonder. Yeah. So I bless you as you raise up your kingdom kids, Charity. Powerful, powerful family. Yeah, that's so good. Guys, if you haven't commented for a little while and you're still here, drop me a comment. Alana Leslie from Jamaica, I'm going to prophesy over you next, because I wish I was in Jamaica right now. right now. I wish I was in Jamaica. It's very cold. My hand is, I've got a mitten on, my ears are very cold, and I forgot my hat in my car. And I'm just like, I don't really feel like I want to do my live with this thing on. You know, it's a little bit clunky. But Jamaica, okay, I'll stop dreaming about Jamaica and prophesy. Yeah, Elena, I just see God is, the favor, like the favor of God is so on you. Like, and I know I released that over Claire as well, but I actually see it in like a different way. I see you actually having a favor in a lot of, I see you having favor like in kingdom circles, but a lot of favor outside of the church as well. And so I see God using you and really giving you places, like places for you to release your voice and to have influence. And I really see like it's like an Esther thing on you, where it's like, it's that wisdom to step in. So where Esther came in to meet the king and, you know, went into the season of preparation, Mordecai had told her to hide, you know, to not tell the king and not to tell them about her people and that she was Jewish. And so it's like, I see some, try not to drop that. I see some of your spheres of influence in the places that God is sending you, where you're actually going to hold back a little bit, and you're going to be a little bit of a 007, like an undercover kind of agent for God and for the kingdom in those places. And so I see you releasing, you know, like I see you coming in, and the wisdom of God, the wisdom, the spirit of wisdom and revelation is just all over you, and God is giving you strategies and solutions. And so it's like, I see people coming to you and asking you questions and just like, really wanting to hear what you say. And it's like, I see you releasing some specific solutions in certain spheres that are going to, you know, make man notice you, and they're going to take notice. But even some people, you know, if they knew who you were, you know, as a, you know, prophetic woman of God, they would maybe not give you the time of day. But because of this, and then as they bring you in closer, and so it's like, I see you like coming in closer, and it's kind of like, there's also this thing on you. It's kind of like Daniel in the Bible. Now it's starting to rain and it's cold. I'm going to put my hat on. It's kind of like Daniel in the Bible, where he had this ability to come in and to honor and serve even ungodly kings. And so God is going to give you that ability too. So even people who are not kingdom minded, and they might even actually be pushing certain agendas that are contrary to what you believe in, I see God even giving you favor there and being able to use you to shift some things, and just you just being like very strategic, like consultant even, where it's like you can, even though, you know, it's like you can keep your opinions and your strong views to yourself, and God will give you the certain windows and the doors of opportunity to ask the right question, to cause people to question the unrighteous ways that they're going, or the plans, or the, you know, whatever is behind the agendas. And so it's like, I just see God using you in some very sneaky, strategic ways. And, yeah, so I just bless you. That wisdom and that revelation is on you. And yeah, you can share some stories with me and let me know. You can let me know if that resonates with you. Awesome. Just say hello. Okay. Paul Maines, are you still on here? I don't believe I've ever prophesied over you. Paul, hopefully it doesn't start raining too hard. It is raining now. I might have to start walking back after this one. Yeah, Paul, I just, man, okay, you're still here. Awesome. Wow. Paul, you're just like full to the brim of the Father's love. And I just see you just like so full and just so overflowing. It's like I can see like the love of the Father flowing through you, and even just a touch. It's like you don't even have to say a word, and I just see God like setting you as this like you know, as this father and as this safe place, even in the midst of many who feel like spiritual orphans. And it's like I can just see, even as you put your hand, you know, on the shoulder of like young women, like I can just see like this healing flowing from the Father, like through you, just through the slightest touch, or the word of encouragement, or the like, I'm just so proud of you, like just these little things. And it's like, I just see that the things that you say and the ways that you encourage people, even the tiniest whisper, like even the tiniest whisper is like, it's like a shout in their spirit. And I just see people's like DNA coming back into alignment. And I just see like, really, you just have this ability to call people up into their identity, to call them into who they are. And I just see you like being this like really, you know, this safe place, but also you're a safe place where people can come. But I also see this like ability to like really speak the truth in love. So it's like a relational safeness, but you know, but you also being able to like shake people into alignment when they need to, like, you know, be shaken out of their places of slumber and of like living below their potential. And so it's just, it's really, it's like that fathering. It's the Father, because you know, you really understand that even as the Father disciplines, you know, those who are legitimate children, like I just see you carrying that. And you know, there are very few true fathers out there, and that is like, because the heart of the true father is to like not to be the ceiling over the spiritual children, but to actually allow your ceiling to be their floor. And so it's like, I see you being such a champion and an encourager of other, where you're just like launching them off. You're just like, you don't want to put limitations on, but you are just such a champion, and you're just pushing them forward. And it's like, I just see you, just like you as the springboard, like you as that foundation layer, like you as the one who, it's like, I literally see you, you know, when like, if you had, you know, if like soldiers had to go like up and over like a brick wall, like the two would come, you put your hands together and you know, step on their hands and spring them over. Like that's the picture I'm seeing. And it's like you, Paul, like you're down there, and it's like, you're like, okay, I'll bear the weight, I'll bear the brunt of this. And you're, you know, taking your strength to like launch up and to push them over. And so I just see you doing that, and like really just laying yourself down and, you know, sacrificing so that you can see the next generation go. Because your legacy is so important to you. And I just see that you just have this hunger to, you know, not just live your life and not, you know, make a difference, but really to like see, you know, that next generation. And I just see you like holding all these spiritual batons. And I don't know, like God is giving you, it's like I can see your arms full of all these batons. And so I feel like it's all these batons of like, that have been passed in generations past. Some are like your family line, your bloodline. Some are just like random strays that have been abandoned. And I see them in your arms, and I see that God has said, I am choosing you, Paul, because you can see who is ready and who has the grit, who has the ability to take this baton and to go the distance. And so, you know, for some reason, you know, he's just allowing you. And it's so you're stewarding them, you're protecting, but you're also handing out, and you're releasing people into the things that God has called them to do. And you have that ability to see people's strengths and weaknesses, and to like not treat everybody the same, but to see like, okay, like this is, you know, everybody's an individual, and I need to, you know, this much grace for this person, and you know, that much for another. I just see this ability to like really have that wisdom to treat people as, you know, they should be treated, given their skills, their abilities, and you know, their faithfulness. So anyway, let me know if that resonates with you guys. This is so fun. So thanks guys so much for tuning in, and just going to keep putting it out there for my I'm running the promotion for my prophetic mentorship group, and for the month of November it is $200 off. So if you are not part of a prophetic community, and listen up, you do not need to feel like you're called to be a prophet to be part of a prophetic community. We all are called to prophesy and to know, you know, in the prophetic, really, it's not just about prophesying like I do here, but it's about knowing the heart of God and being able to hear from heaven for his, you know, sorry, my hand's so cold, for his instruction and direction. And so if if you're not part of a church that has a strong, prophetic community, and you would just like to be sharpened no matter where you are, anyone who is part of the prophetic mentorship group that I run, everybody gets upgraded in their gift. And I'll tell you, like, I've been running this, I'm in my 3rd year, and something has happened in this last month or so, and it's up leveled. So this is like prophetic mentorship 2.0. It's 2.0. So people we're going deeper, we're pushing harder, and I just love seeing the fruit in everybody. So really awesome. So I'm going to put a link in the comments. So instead of $597 for 6 months of mentorship, it's only $397 until the end of November. And last thing I just want to mention, because I've actually had 2 people reach out to me in the last week about prophetic consultations. And I know I haven't been pushing or marketing, that I do prophetic consultations for a little while, but a couple people have been reaching out and I've made a couple appointments. So, if, that's another way that I serve and connect with people, and there is a fee, people do, pay me for my time. And, but if you are feeling stuck in a certain area, or just some people need some like prophetic consulting or mentorship, or just needing like breakthrough in an area, or sometimes you just need someone who's prophetic to just kind of process with you, maybe your prophetic words or the things that you're going through, or maybe you're just, feeling challenged in some directions or whatever. So that is something. So if you're interested in prophetic consulting, processing, or mentorship on a one-on-one basis, I do have an hourly rate for that, and people can make appointments with me. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm gonna go because it's really cold. All right, love you guys.